Welcome to the Empower Her Moments morning show, where we create intentional mindset shifts, empower women to embrace their potential, and open their hearts to their deepest desires. Join Margot, the beauty guru, your self-love and business strategist, and Dr. Alicia A. Williams, your transformation and empowerment coach. These dynamic women are here to guide you, inspire you, and uplift you. Together, they'll help you unleash your potential and own your journey. It's time to step into your greatness. Let's get started.
When you look at your financial decisions, how you spend, save, invest, or even avoid money conversations, are those choices intentional, or are they being driven by habits, fear, past experiences, or what you were taught growing up? So, Dr. Alicia, we're talking to our audience today to find out, are their financial struggles really about money, or are they a reflection of how you think about money? So I think this is going to be an excellent conversation. Listen, this is going to be great because money and mindset is very important, and why your financial habits start in your thinking. So we're getting ready to dive into it today, Dr. Alicia.
Let's talk about it. What I've learned with most people and just people that I know is that a lot of people repeat how they've grown up, repeat some of the things of maybe how they were raised and what they saw that was happening within their home. So if they constantly complained about money,
that's true.
Guess what? They live paycheck to paycheck. They lived in survival mode. So I think a lot of people repeat how they've grown up.
I totally agree as well. I mean, a lot of things that we have learned to do in our adult life, it stems from childhood. It stems from how we were raised. It stems from, you know, what we experienced, what we saw, what we were taught.
Exactly.
So we thought that this conversation was great to have because we want to tap into that space. So many of us are doing wonderful things in our lives.
Right.
Some of us are, you know, business owners. Some of us are CEOs, CFOs. We're in corporate America. We're doing all the things, right? We're having families. We're doing all kind of things. But a conversation that sometimes is so sensitive, you know, people don't want to talk about, or people run from, or they're fearful of having the conversation, is the conversation of money. So we're getting ready to talk about it and dive deep, guys, because our thoughts are, if you can change your mindset, then you can change how you see your money. And so as you're progressing throughout life, you know, conversations like this have to be had.
Right. And you know, one of the things that I believe too, you just said something, when you can change your mindset, not only can you change your finances, but you can change the whole trajectory of your life. Because one of the things that I've learned is when it comes to money, it starts here.
Absolutely.
You have to see it before it's actually in the bank account. That's one of the things that I had to learn as early as a young adult, especially when I got out of college, is because we all know as an educator, you don't make a whole lot of money. So at the end of the day, what I did not want to do is feel like I needed to operate from a survival mode, meaning working from making choices from paycheck to paycheck, because most people, unfortunately today, many people are in that position where they have to move from paycheck to paycheck. We have to think along the lines of not just short term, but what we can do long term. How are we going to invest that money? I may not get paid every week. However, let's say as a teacher, I got paid on a monthly basis. However, what am I going to do with that paycheck on a monthly basis? Yes, I have to pay my bills, but I've also got to look into how can I invest a percentage of that? How can I plan for an emergency at the end of the day? Those are things that we not have to just think about as families, but as entrepreneurs today.
I totally agree with what you're saying, Dr. Alicia. And a lot of things that we were taught does matter. And what you touched on was very good. Fear versus faith in financial decisions is so important. You have to put yourself where you see yourself, if that makes sense. And not only with your endeavors in life, but also with your finances, right? When you're thinking to go big, or when you're thinking to do things or do investments, you have to put yourself where you see yourself. And I've noticed a lot of times people kind of run from the conversation of finances and money because of fear, right? Fear of lack, right? Fear of I may not have enough. So I don't want to engage in this conversation because I don't have $100,000 in my bank account. I don't have $50,000 that I can put my hands on today. So we become fearful to engage in conversation. But one thing I want to point out that's extremely important. Listen, we have to educate ourselves. And that's the most important thing. I'm going to be honest. You know, I grew up not from a fortunate situation. You know, at times I was homeless. At times I saw a lot of things, and I came from financial struggle. So for me, being first generation in a lot of things that I'm doing and I'm accomplishing in my life, I understood that I didn't have the tools. You know, I didn't have the education that I needed to sustain the financial growth that I had experienced. So one thing I do want to encourage you, get educated on your money. Get educated on how you can move your money. It's so important because the lack of knowledge will keep you paralyzed.
Most definitely.
And it will paralyze you from really having those meaningful financial conversations.
Most definitely. I 100% agree. Today, what we lack in our communities is the financial literacy. You know, it's out there, but let me say this. It's not that we're lacking in it. People don't want to take advantage of it.
That's it.
Or there's also something that you made mention of, the fear of, I don't want to walk in this room because I don't know who's going to see me.
Absolutely.
And I don't want people to think that I'm actually financially struggling. Let me tell you something. At the end of the day, you can't worry about thy neighbor, okay? You've got to focus on you today, because we all have been in a position to where we didn't move smart with our funds. One of the things that I thought about when it comes to a lot of people is they move, their habits are on autopilot.
Oh, yeah.
Their habits are on autopilot. And what I mean by that, they move out of, okay, I've got to pay my bills this week, but you know what? I'm gonna still get that coffee. Well, sometimes you got to change your habits. Your habits can determine whether you're broke this week or you got enough for next week to get that meal. We have to begin to change our habits on a day-to-day basis. Well, you know what? A lot of times I feel guilty. So you know what? I worked hard this week, so I'm going to treat myself. But do you really have the funds to treat yourself? I've always used to hear some of my elders are just older aunts and uncles and even parents, you know, just because you can buy it don't mean that you can actually afford it. Come on, for the people in the back that didn't hear me. Just because you can buy it does not mean that you can actually afford it. And so we have to change our mindsets in that area.
I totally agree on that. And it comes from transitioning from a spending mindset to an investing mindset. And that's something that we have to learn in this season and in this space. I don't know about you guys, but as I'm getting over, you know, that hump and sliding into those 50s, I'm taking my finances a whole lot serious right now, because I know that I tell my husband all the time, I have 10 good years in me, okay? So by the time I hit 55, listen, I want to be slowing this train down. What are you doing to invest in yourself? What are you doing to make sure that your future will be what it needs to be? And I know that it sounds cliche, but even when Dr. Alicia meant, you know, that whole thought process of, you know, I deserve it, I'm going to treat myself. Yeah, you may deserve it, and you probably can treat yourself. But the thing is, are you staying on budget? Are you staying where you said you were going to be financially? And I think a lot of that also keeps us from having those conversations about budget, those conversations about money, and it keeps us shying away from getting the knowledge that we need.
And here's something else that, as you were talking, I was thinking that a lot of people don't like to talk about finances because they are afraid of, maybe I don't want to know. I don't want John or Amy to know this is really the kind of money that I bring in or I don't bring in. So therefore, they can't really have the conversations. Let's say I've done very well in my career. And so depending on who's sitting at the table will determine if that person is going to partake in that conversation or not, because they may not find themselves, well, I can't really partake in this conversation because really this is out of my league.
Right. And that causes insecurities. We have to have that conversation. A lot of us right now are insecure financially. Financially insecure. I'm going to put a name to it. We're financially insecure. And what you have to understand is we all have different statuses. We all have different types of money. We all have different types of income. What you have to understand is your journey is your journey. Your portfolio is your portfolio. The money that you've made is your money. But what I can encourage you all is to just say, let's get educated. Let's tune into what we need to do. Let's talk about how we can move our money. Let's talk about how we can invest our money. Let's talk about how we can live off interest and put our money in money moving machines. I can tell you all from my experience, my financial mindset shifted when I started sitting at tables with different people. And that's another thing. A lot of times we let our financial insecurities keep us out of certain conversations in
certain
certain rooms and
spaces.
certain spaces and tables. And so we're having this conversation because no matter what is being talked about, every table that you're set at, you're supposed to be at.
That's right.
So we're encouraging you guys to break that wall, break that insecurity of not wanting to have those financial conversations, break those walls of feeling like I'm not enough or I may not have enough financially. Listen, run your race, but prepare yourself financially for your future. For me, I'm a student of the game all the time. Alicia, anytime I hear anything about someone talking about money management, you know, how you can increase your money or how can you invest your money, I'm always going to lend an ear because I can never know enough about finances.
And you know, I just heard you say something about lending your ear and really paying attention and being attentive in the rooms that you are in. Now, let me say this too. Everybody that talks about having money, that does not mean that they're actually moving smart with their money. So I do always encourage everyone to be very, do your research. Take time to do your research because people can also show up as if things are one way and they're actually not. There are a lot of programs that are out there, but you've got to tap into them. And what we must understand is budgeting won't fix a broken mindset.
That's true.
Let me say that again. Budgeting won't fix a broken mindset. You've got to heal from your past traumas. So whatever your mom or your dad did growing up does not mean that you have to carry that into this generation with your family. You've got to move smart.
Yes. I totally agree. And you do. In this season, Dr. Alicia, you have to move smart. And what I'm understanding is, and this is why I find this topic so important, because what you are avoiding is costing you.
Oh, most
Listen,
definitely,
let me tell you something.
definitely.
What you are avoiding sitting down and having that budget conversation, avoiding sitting down with your partner to say, hey, listen, what are we doing with our money? What's coming in? What's coming out? How are we planning to save? How are we planning to invest? What is our next? Avoiding those conversations is costing you. It delays your breakthrough. It delays your financial advancement, guys. It delays it. So your mindset have to change. And for those who struggle with having financial conversations, we're not having this conversation to say, hey, go sit at the boardroom and have this financial conversation. What we're saying is start having it. And you can start it even in your own home with coming up with some type of budgeting mechanism to say, hey, listen, this is how much I'm making. This is how much I'm spending. How much am I saving? How much of this am I investing? What my future will look like. I don't think we're doing that. And so we have to make sure that we stop leading with avoidance because it's costing us. It's costing us big time.
The fear will definitely hold you back. You spoke on something that I really wanted to touch on when it comes to marriage and finances, when it comes to raising young adults. But they don't even have to be adults. I remember when we were children, all of my siblings had some type of job, whether it been cutting grass or back then they threw newspaper in your neighbor's yard. But there was always something, or you may have cleaned, washed dishes. There was some type of chore that turned into a job that allowed you to earn money, but you had to invest. Now, I know things are a little bit different today. Things are much higher. However, I knew that if I wanted to get that expensive pair of shoes or that really nice dress for this upcoming dance, I knew that I had to save. So we have to talk to our children. Even today, I don't believe there's a certain age limit. And think about when you were younger. Did you have a piggy bank?
Oh, absolutely.
I think we all had some type of piggy bank. Now, how often we put money in there is the question. But we all had some type of piggy bank. That was the start to saving for what we wanted. However, when it comes as you matriculate as children and become adults and you become someone's wife, you become someone's husband, you have to sit down and have the conversations because the number one killer when it comes to marriages is finances. Come on, somebody, go do your research. I don't have the numbers today, but I can tell you that that's one of the major causes of families breaking up is because somebody is either mishandling the funds or someone is not no one wants to have the conversation, or it breaks the family up when you simply could have just come together and had the conversation and put some things into place for your future.
And that's great that you brought that up about finances being something that's leading in divorces. But the funny part, well, not funny part, but the the thought is that finances is a leading cause of divorce, but also communication. And so that's why we're talking about being open, learning how to communicate, learning how to speak about the things that you have thought to do or the things that you need to financially do, because the truth of the matter is your mindset dictates everything. And so, Dr. Alicia, I'm going to slide into something a little bit more personal because, you know, we don't have these conversations just to enlighten people or tell people what we think you should do, but we also talk about our own personal experiences as well, right? So coming up, you know, in a family where we didn't have much, you know, growing up, finances was never talked about. Matter of fact, it was one of those things where it's like, don't ask for nothing. Don't ask for nothing. Pretty much. If you ain't got the money, right? If you ain't working and you ain't bringing in the check, don't ask. I don't have no McDonald's money today. No McDonald's money today. So when you're raised that way, it does shape your mindset, right? So it shapes your mindset not to ask for nothing, right? It shapes your mindset not to look further past what you have, because I'm not asking for anything, right? And so as I grew and I matured in life, I adapted that mindset very early on. Even though I was ambitious and had things that I wanted to do in life and do some things, I still had that mindset. If you don't have it, don't ask for nothing. And I can't tell you how much that limited me early on. As an entrepreneur, early on in my adulthood, it limited my thinking because I wouldn't think outside the box. I wouldn't think about more. I wouldn't think about the things that I couldn't afford. I only was conditioned to think about the things that were in my reach, the things that were in my strong suit. And this is why we're talking about the mindset, because that's when it shifts. When you start to put yourself where you see yourself, you begin to lift past that limited mindset of, if I ain't bring it in, I can't spend it. You have to think outside of how you have been taught. It's so important.
It's very important. And as I was listening to you, made me think about when I was growing up. I come from a family of 6, so three brothers and 2 sisters. So my mom and dad had to stretch their money. So I dare ask for something extra.
Right.
I dare ask, because at the end of the day, I never thought about myself, and I was like, well, I'm not the only one. They have to put clothes on my sisters and my brother's back, or I can't get this extra $15 for this field trip. Do I really want to go?
Right.
Really, that was a heavy responsibility.
Yes, as
a child to say to yourself, you know what, I really want to ask mom and dad for this, but I know that they may have other things to do with that.
Yes.
Maybe that was just a mature thinking on my part, but a lot of people still go through that today, depending on the size of that family and just what it looks like for them, because it's going to look different for every household.
Right. But when you get to a certain point in life, guys, you got to start thinking about you.
That's right.
You have to start thinking about what life is going to look like for you. As I age and I get older, now I'm thinking about wealth. Right? I'm thinking about what is it that I'm leaving for my children, my grandchildren. Now today, I'm thinking about legacy. And those are the things that I didn't particularly grow up knowing, right? But I allowed my mindset to be open. I allowed myself to be open and educated about things that I hadn't experienced growing up, because I wanted to be better.
Right.
I wanted to show up different. And I wanted to teach my children what I had not been taught.
And that's what it's all about.
And that's what it's all about. Because today, I have conversations with our children. We talk about credit. You know, we talk about what are you doing to make sure you're financially sound. I talk to them about retirement 401k investments. I talk to my children today about those things. So when you're able to change the trajectory of your family, when you're able to see beyond how you were raised, then you can change the game.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And the difference between our children ages are a little bit differently. So some of the conversations that you're having, I know that they're going to come from my children, is because they're getting there. But when I look at them now, when me and Brian and I have conversations, it's like, hey, we want to prevent the mistakes that we made, because it's all about teaching them better than let's just go back, the generational, not curses, but the things that we talked about.
Stronghold.
You only did what you saw. We only did what we saw. My parents, I know that they worked hard to raise us to be self-sufficient, independent, and to do the right things. However, as young adults who are off in college, you're tempted with these credit card scams. You're tempted with if you do this, you can get that. But let me just tell you, if you don't surround yourself with the right people,
absolutely,
the right people, the right resources, if you don't step up for yourself at this big age, as we keep talking about, now it's about doing, when they say, when you know better, you do better.
Absolutely.
So at this age, because I know better, but here's the thing, guys, let me tell you something. Even as an educator, I always say that I will forever be a student. I am still learning how to move smart. It's because I want to make sure that I have all the tools and resources that I need so that I can make sure that my children, our children do not make the same mistakes that we made. Okay.
I totally understand. And I agree with that, Dr. Alicia, because it's so important. Like for Antonio and I, we go as early as 15, 16. We start talking to our kids, 17 years old in our house.
When they got that job.
You have to have a job. And then once you get your job, we relinquish your cell phone bill. Now you have a bill to pay. You have to teach your kids responsibility. So no matter how your upbringing was, no matter what lack of knowledge you receive, when you know better, you do better. And that's what I've adapted. When I learned about responsibility, when I started to learn and understand the power of credit, the power of money, I made sure that our children are enlightened on that. So we're not just having this conversation for you, the parents. We're having this because we need this to trickleate throughout your family. We need your partners to know about this. We need your children, your family members to know, listen, guys, as a community, it's important that we get educated on how to handle our money and have those engaging conversations.
Yes, I want to add something to this that I don't think that we actually hit on. For you entrepreneurs out there, think about when we see every day just in the media how people blow up and they come into this wealth. There's a difference between having money and having wealth.
Yes.
There's a big difference between the two. So as we see people coming into, oh, they rich. They may have the money, but how are they responsibly moving with those funds that they're making? A lot. Do we often see a lot of people? You be like, oh, they filed for bankruptcy or for just different things happen. But we don't know what has actually taken place behind the scenes. Yes. Let me tell you something. There are a lot of things that are taking place behind the scenes where they may have mismanaged their finances. Where they appear to be, oh, they're living this lavish life. Do not believe what they say. Believe half of what you see and believe half of what you hear. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that when we do, and I'm talking directly to the entrepreneurs out there, as they say, I've hit a lick.
Yes.
Even if you hit that lick, I immediately encourage you, because I'm going to tell you, as someone who came into the game, this huge network marketing industry, and it popped off very, very fast for me. I'm going to be 100% transparent. The financial side of it, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I wasn't prepared to see that kind of income coming in. So I naturally was very fearful of, I ain't going to touch this, because I don't know if it's going to be here tomorrow. And so I had to surround myself with the right people to pour into me, have conversations with my mom and dad, and make sure I was moving smart. To this day, I am still having those conversations 15 years later about making sure, not when you get the money, you need to learn how to keep the money.
Absolutely.
So we want to make sure that we're having those conversations.
And also to position you in a space where you're not scared to have those conversations, where you're not scared to sit at those tables where money conversations are had. Because I can tell you that I've learned so many profound things sitting at the right table. Who you surround yourself around, who you're around, it does matter, guys. Yes. We can't say this enough. It does matter, because a lot of us are out here. We're first generation with things. We're first generation with money. We're first generation with a lot of different things. And what you don't want to do is not be a good steward of what God has blessed you with. So we're having this conversation because step outside of how you feel, step outside of your fear of loss, step outside of your limited mindsets, because at the end of the day, if you don't educate yourself about your finances, if you don't know about your finances, or if you're fearful and scared of finances, you will stump your growth big time, guys. You will stump your growth. And my thoughts are always this. It's discipline over desire. Financial success isn't about how much you make. I'm going to say that again.
Come on.
Your financial success is not about how much money you make. It's about how well you manage it when you have it. So I really enjoyed this conversation, Dr. Alicia. This was a great conversation, a great segue for us to talk to our community about a conversation that a lot of us don't want to have.
Yeah, don't want to do anything they can to avoid it. But we want to just make sure that just sit down, get comfortable. Let me say this before we conclude, is one of the things that I found to be very important if you have a partner, whether it be you, vice versa, who are struggling with having that conversation, be mindful of how you approach that conversation.
Absolutely.
Because that can be the determining factor whether that person wants to have that conversation or not. So we want to make sure that it's not just about having the conversation about money. It's about making sure that person is comfortable. Yeah,
being effective in your communication.
And be effective in your communication.
Yes. Well, Dr. Alicia, this was a great conversation. This was an amazing way for us to really just talk to our viewers about that conversation that we all choose to stay silent about. So guess what, guys? We're not staying silent anymore. We're going to talk about finances. We're going to get into those educational forums where we learn about our money. We learn how to move our money. It's important for our future. So we're not only thinking about today, we're thinking about wealth management. We're thinking about legacy. We're thinking about building and educating our families as we're raising them up in this community. Okay. So as we close today's show, remember this: growth is a journey, not a destination. Give yourself grace. Stay committed to becoming, and never forget, there is power in showing up as your authentic self. Whatever you're facing, whatever you're navigating, you are not alone. You are evolving, you are learning, and you are becoming everything you were created to be. The work you do on yourself today will show up in every area of your life tomorrow. So stay empowered, stay encouraged, and most importantly, stay true to you. Okay. And so this show was powered by Platinum Luxury Fleet, Black Car Service. Make sure that you visit their website at platinumluxuryfleet.com and book your luxury black car service on today. We'll see you next time on Empower Her Moments Morning Show. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.